Russian Metropolitan Hilarion removed from office. During a July 25 synod in Moscow, Patriarch Kirill temporarily suspended Metropolitan Hilarion of Budapest and Hungary from the administration of the Russian Orthodox Diocese. Opposition press reports an investigation into suspicions of moral misconduct.
Yeah, condolences to my Russian Orthodox brothers and sisters in Christ and all the Orthodox, because, as Catholics, we know what that's like to hear reports of hierarchs who are engaged in sexual immorality. And I hope it's not the case, but, I feel for them. But it's a reminder that sin creeps at the door. And that's true whether you're Catholic, whether you're Pentecostal, whether you're Orthodox. And when we encounter sin in our local churches, at the national level, the international level, there are really two responses. There's fight and flight. You just change denominations and you run off to greener pastures where there are no problems and there is no sin, supposedly, or you stay and you fight. And this, I think, is a reminder to those people who left Catholicism for the green pastures of Orthodoxy. I think of Rod Dreher. That you can't escape, the fallen nature of man and the need for a redeemer.
I had family from my wife's side who lived in Massachusetts, and I can't imagine, you go up there now, I've been there, spoken in a few churches, and at least the ones I've spoken in seem really dead.
Yep.
And there's just this oppressive kind of spirit there. I can't imagine what it would have been like to live through that. Have you, or at least some of your parishioners, ever dealt with this and expressed it to you that they're thinking of leaving the church because of all that's going on?
I haven't had any parishioners, tell me that. Yeah. But I've generally, in our society, you encounter people who say, after all of these things, they just stop going to church.
Yeah.
And, our response is that in the face of scandal, we strive to be saints. The only refutation to sin is sanctity.
Yeah. It is weird when the church you've joined doesn't feel as triumphant and, to use lack of a better word, magical as it once did. Like, I came into the church, the hero John Paul II at the helm, right? Then Benedict, and it just felt like...
Yeah, a lot of wind at your back.
Yeah, this is cool. This is, to use a new word, base. This is what it's about. A lot of Catholics don't feel that way anymore. They feel like they're part of a church that's very confused and fractured and fragmenting. What do you do at that point? That's when you got to go, well, why am I a part of the church? Is it because it's cool and based and like against the culture? Or is it because I believe that this is truly the church Christ established and that I was never promised that there wouldn't be scandal in the hierarchy or in the laity?
Yeah. Well, we have to ask ourselves, are we fair weather fans, or are we going to be the guys who do the heavy lifting? And the saints are no different. The saints are those men and women who preceded us in time, who lived through grave scandals in the history of the church, grave scandals, not less than what we see now. And they were those who stood the ground, remained faithful to Christ, and bore it with patience and joy. And that's the only alternative for us if we're serious about the faith. There's no other option if you're serious about God's kingdom.
I feel like Orthodoxy looks as cool today as Catholicism looked back in 2000 when I converted. When I go online and I see these priests and their beautiful liturgies, I'm full on attracted to it. And I 100% understand, not just superficially, right, why people would be attracted to it, but like substantially, especially for Protestants who want tradition and maybe are being convinced of the claims of the historic church, what the early fathers said and such. But what advice would you have maybe to a Catholic who's considering leaving Catholicism for Eastern Orthodoxy of some brand?
Yeah. Are you a member of the church because of the claims of the church? Or are you a member of the church because of what it's giving you? What it's giving you in your local community? Is it giving you a good feeling? Is it giving you a feeling of maybe intellectual superiority and you're going there so long as those feelings keep coming in? Or are you there because of the long-standing, eternal truths of the church? And whether the pastor comes and goes, whether the tea party is there or not, you're going to be true to that. So just ask yourself: am I here because of the truths of Christ's church, or am I here because of the the nice attributes that come along with it? And if you're tempted to join another church, go and look at it, and you'll soon see after a few visits that they also have their problems. And orthodoxy there is no Orthodox church. There are Orthodox churches, and they're not in communion with one another, and they'll allow divorce and remarriage once, twice, 3 times.
They all do that, do they?
Yeah, Orthodoxy allows that.
Every branch, I'm saying, like the Greeks.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the Copts say about the third marriage, but and I'm not sure what perhaps some of the Oriental Orthodox Church would say, but the Constantinopolitan Orthodox churches, the Greeks, the Bulgarians, the Russians, all the ones that we know, they allow divorce and remarriage up to 3 times. So, choose your warts and pimples, and they all have them.
I mean, they at least, wouldn't you say, isn't it true that Kirill in the Russian Orthodox Church is very vocal against abortion?
Yeah, I mean, to
good.
their credit, they are vocal against it.
Is it contraception, perhaps, that they waffle on, or?
Well, until recently, I think when they redid their social catechism over 10 years ago, maybe 15, 18 years ago, they redid their social catechism, and they did put in their contraception.
To condemn it.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. But you look at... Russian society, and nothing's changed in that regard. It's still, abortion is still, the preferred method of contraception in Russia.
But that wouldn't be any more an argument against Russian Orthodoxy than
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our culture would be against the
right.
Western
Church.
Yeah.
So to their credit, they condemn abortion and contraception, and that's to their that's I'm glad that they saw the error of the way, and they did a course correction with that. So that's to their credit.
I think one Catholic talking point that maybe Orthodoxy refutes, and you correct me, because I suspect I'm wrong, I don't know. But Catholics will often point to Protestants and say, do you see, without the magisterium, you start splintering into all sorts of craziness, all sorts of novel doctrines. But I don't know, when you look at Orthodoxy, they don't have the papacy, and they haven't spiraled into the kind of chaotic doctrinal landscape that Protestants have. What do you think?
Well, so I think part of that is because, Orthodoxy was a break from, the authority and the unity of Rome, but it wasn't a break from tradition.
Okay.
And no one that I know of in the Catholic camp would claim that Orthodox have broken from the apostolic tradition.
Gotcha.
Absolutely not.
Gotcha.
The difference with Protestantism is that not only was that a break from the authority and teaching of the church and the magisterium as embodied in the Bishop of Rome, but it was also a radical break at one and the same time from Holy Tradition. And you can go through the long laundry list of ways that the Protestant revolutionaries in the 16th century broke from tradition itself. So that's the difference.
Great. If you could suggest one book to somebody who's currently Catholic and is looking at Eastern Orthodoxy, is there a book or a series of videos or anything like that you might point them to?
That's a favorable read on Orthodoxy?
No, that would help them remain true in the Catholic faith.
That's a good question. I would say...
I know Catholic.com, Catholic Answers, has a lot of things people could search for.
Yeah. Father Daniel Dozier has a book on Eastern Catholics, Eastern Catholicism. And I think they would find in Father Daniel Dozier's book on Eastern Catholicism the very thing they're looking for in Eastern Orthodoxy. What are they looking for? They're looking for vibrant apostolic worship. They're looking for the tradition of the church fully alive. They're looking for intimate Christ-centered communities. And one that's really averse to the stench of modernity, and that is deep into the spirit of the apostolic church. And that's what you find in the Eastern Catholic churches as much as you would find in an Orthodox church. So that's what I would recommend.
Great. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, do us a favor, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of the video, like, and subscribe.